What are you doing?
I'm just reading. I'm reading about this awesome guy called Daniel Disney. Apparently he's the king of LinkedIn and social selling, so I thought I'd get on my throne and channel his wisdom.
Well, will you hurry up? We've got an extra special guest in bed this morning with us, and somehow I think you're going to like this one.
Okay, let's go.
Enrique, come on! I told you we've got a special guest coming this morning.
What, already?
Yes, come on!
No.
The king.
It's not the man himself.
I am here.
I was just reading your book. And you're...
What are the odds? What are the odds? It is a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Well, thank you so much for being with us this morning. We're super excited about this one, as you can probably tell, this one in particular. So we've got a few questions for you, and I'm just going to kick us straight off, if that's all right with you, Dan.
Yeah, let's dive right in.
Perfect. So firstly, when most people think of social selling, they immediately think LinkedIn with your pillow. What are the most overlooked social selling channels, and how can we leverage them at different stages of the sales funnel?
Yeah, quick question. I mean, social selling encompasses all social media platforms. Now, in the B2B, business to business world, LinkedIn is king. I mean, 80 to 90% of LinkedIn is professionals, C-level decision makers. That's the place to go. But you shouldn't ignore other networks like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even TikTok, which sounds funny and everyone laughs when I say it, but you'd be amazed at how many senior C-level decision makers I've seen sharing TikTok videos on LinkedIn. So it's starting to become part of our lives as individuals, and you know, your customers are people. So if you can find and use these platforms, it's an amazing sales tool. So my advice to everyone is look to where your customers are. You know, if you're in B2B, a large percentage will be on LinkedIn, so make sure you're using that. But you'd be surprised at how many are also using other platforms.
Great. And do you think some platforms are more suited for like one-to-many messaging, whereas others might be more suited for like one-to-one? Have you seen people pick and choose based on what they're doing?
Yeah, so I mean, one of my biggest goals with writing this book was to sort of really push avoiding the one-to-many messaging style, just because it's so hard to generate good responses with that via social media messaging. That sort of copy and paste or auto messaging comes across quite cold, and you know, a lot of people's inboxes are filled with tons of those messages. Best way to stand out and get a response is to make sure it's personalized and hyper personalized. I got a message today, literally this morning, that just said, "Hi, name." They hadn't even put my name in it. They just copied and pasted a whole template and didn't even bother to update and put "Hi, Dan." It was just "Hi, name," and name in capital letters. So the one-to-many approach it's a lazy one. It's a risky one. I would always recommend go direct, be personal. You know, send a one-to-one message. It doesn't take long, and to get the information to make sure it's really personalized, again, doesn't take long. It can take you 30 seconds to look at someone's profile, find those key bits of information, put that into your message so it's about them. Instantly get a huge increase in the chances of a response you'll get.
Love that.
Great. Yeah, super helpful. Lovely. And so let's go on to the second question. And this one is one that's quite close to me, because I've certainly experienced a huge shift in how much I apply myself and my team to social selling. And so the question I have for you, Dan, is how do you actually create like a real social selling movement inside a company, right? So it becomes more than just you, but actually becomes a cultural norm.
Really, really good question. I'll take the crown off. It's a little bit stuffy. We'll be informal today. Creating a social selling movement comes down to one key thing. Find your social selling stars. Pretty much every team that I've ever met or worked with, there is always at least one, sometimes two or three social stars. Now, a lot of businesses don't know it. Sometimes they're doing it behind the scenes at home. They write a blog, they create YouTube videos. You have no idea. Others do it. They have a presence on LinkedIn already. There are always usually a couple of people that just naturally enjoy utilizing social. So if you want to create a movement, find them, get them on board, invest in them at the start, or give them responsibilities as you're training the team and encouraging the team. But their success, enthusiasm, and passion for all areas of social will help push the team to do the same. If it's if you're going to go in and just say, right, here's some training, off you go, I expect you to do social selling, as with anything, only a small group will. But if you've got someone banging the drum every day, you're instantly going to get a better result. The other thing you can do to create a real movement is lead from the top. To have sales manager, sales director, any and every leader in the business really trying to push and encourage it, and make sure you're doing it as well. You're creating a personal brand, you're putting out great content, you're supporting your team in their content. All these little things make a huge difference to, right, here's LinkedIn or here's Sales Navigator, off you go and generate some results. Start to find your stars and lead by example, and you'll instantly start to get better results.
Great. Yeah, I mean, just one side note that I'd like to make is that I've seen a lot of sales leaders really embrace LinkedIn Sales Navigator as of recently. But I think what they fail to capture is what, is everywhere inside your book, which is it's not just about using LinkedIn to sell to people, but it's about creating your own personal brand and letting people see who you really are. And I think that a lot of sales managers just think that if they roll out Sales Navigator, they've got social selling sorted. I think you tell a very different story to that, right?
Yeah, Sales Navigator is amazing. Really, truly amazing sales tool. But pretty much everything I've achieved on LinkedIn over the years, I've done with the free account. Yeah. There is so much you can do. I mean, you've got a 30,000 connection limit. You can build a globally known personal brand. You can create unlimited amounts of content, generate unlimited amounts of followers. I mean, there is so much you can do. And as a leader, as a sales leader, not just as a tool to create sales opportunities, it's also a tool to motivate your team. Imagine how great it would feel for one of your staff if they achieved something and you wrote about it on LinkedIn and published it to your network. How good is that going to make you as a sales rep feel? That praise, that sort of motivation. On the other side of it, it's going to help you attract talent. Good sales leaders that are using LinkedIn are sharing their workplace, sharing the perks, sharing all the nice, fun, great things that their team does. So when they do have roles, people are interested. And I see the best sales leaders right now that are using it. Every time they post a role, they always post a day or two later, boasting about how many applications they've received. Because they've put it out there. They've created this brand. They've shown what a great place it is to work. So yeah, it's not just about selling. As a sales leader, it's about motivating your team, supporting you, encouraging them. And again, from a talent attraction point of view, so many benefits to it.
Awesome.
Oh, I love that. Sorry, even the dogs agree. You're hearing them yapping now. So even they agree.
Yeah, fine.
Perfect. So that probably leads me on, Dan, actually, to one of your businesses is working with sales leaders and teams to increase their revenue results through social selling. Now, during this pandemic, I'm sure many sales leaders are under amplified stress and pressure. What mistakes are you seeing that lead to?
The biggest mistake that I've seen, and it is hard to kind of, it's hard to see as a passionate salesperson, but they put that pressure on their sales team. So that's the biggest mistake. Most, unfortunately, bad sales leaders or leaders that are struggling, they will take all the pressure that's on them and they just put it on their team. And they start to make them feel insecure. They'll make them feel threatened about their role. And I've seen this firsthand in some of my early sales roles, what that feels like when there's any sort of turbulence within the business and the sales manager comes to the team, and I don't know what in their head makes them think it's the right thing to do, but they'll sit there and be like, guys, things are really bad at the moment. I'm not sure if we're going to have jobs by the end of the month. And they go down this horrible path. And as a salesperson, as a sales rep, especially if you're early in your career, that's really scary stuff to hear. And that's not the motivation you need to go and work hard. And that's what you need right now. The best teams out there, and I've seen a few companies post about it in some really great stories, were the ones that took the pressure away, that provided extra support, provided extra meetings. I saw one of the companies, they used to do a monthly all hands team meeting, and they changed it to weekly. As soon as this all started to kick off, every week they get the whole team together, they provide security, make sure everyone felt safe, everyone knew who and where they could go to talk to if they needed to. And I think big mistake is to pass pressure on. I mean, not just in a sort of pandemic like we've just had, but even in the day-to-day. Yeah. One of the biggest sins of a bad sales manager is passing pressure on or putting unnecessary pressure onto your staff, because all they do is put that pressure on to their customers. And again, if you've got your salespeople passing on pressure to customers now, you're gonna lose so many opportunities, and they will be gone for good, if not telling others about how bad your company is. So you just got to be so careful. Pressure's a big part of sales and a big part of business. And for any responsible leader, your job is to almost shield your team. You should be shielding that pressure away from them, making sure they feel safe, secure, happy, positive. And you see a big difference. The moment you take pressure away from a salesperson, they become a much more effective professional. When you put pressure on someone to sell, they become a lot of the negative stereotypes that salespeople are. But when you say, okay, no pressure, just go and help people, that's a different type of approach, and you get a much better salesperson. So yeah, big sin, pressure, take it away, you'll do better.
Fab. Love that. Thank you.
So, Dan, next question. What would you say are the top tips for anyone trying to build or to grow their personal brand? And perhaps you can also share with the listeners more about the ABC of social selling from your book, which I thought was really great.
Yeah, so top tips for personal brand. I'll come to the ABC because I do love that as well. Top tips for building a personal brand. Number one, you need to be active. If you want to build a personal brand on social media, you need to be active, consistently active on social. And there are 3 things that I personally recommend as easy sort of starting steps to achieve this. Number one is every day grow your network. So every single day, add new connections.
Okay.
Now, my recommendation is 5 to 10. I would suggest no more than 20. That's a big increase in your network. Do that consistently. You're growing it nice. Now, the next 2 activities will help you generate people adding you. So you might be adding 10 to 20 a day, but hopefully you can start getting people, maybe 10 to 20 adding you. Suddenly you're doubling your audience size without risking the potential ban. So number one, add new people every day. Number 2 is engage in content. So you want to get your name out there. Again, if you want to build a brand, your name needs to be out there as much as possible. One of the best ways you can do this is to like and comment on 3 to 4 posts a day. I mean, again, that's a 5-minute job, if anything, just to go through your feed, find 3 or 4 posts that you like that are performing well, click the like button and add a quick comment. Shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to do 3 or 4 of those. But what happens is every day your name's appearing on 3 or 4 different posts. Suddenly you're being seen in the industry by your prospects, by your peers, by potential future prospects. So you're growing your audience, your name's getting out there. The final component, the most important component, is create your own content. So ideally every day, but 2 to 3 times a week is a healthy amount. Create and share your own original, authentic content. Share your stories, your insights, things that are happening in your world. So again, people get to know you. And again, if you can include, photos of you, it could be, hey, I'm just reviewing a book, take a picture of you holding the book. It could be a picture of you at an event, you in the office when you're back in the office. It could be a screenshot of you and your team during the team sort of Zoom call. But the more they see you, the more they get to know you. But the more they see your name, the more they see your stories, your insights, your knowledge, your experiences, they get to know you. You're giving value. You're getting your name out there with the engagement. You're growing your audience. Those 3 things, which all 3 of them could be done in less than 15 minutes a day. So this isn't some sort of big time commitment, but do those 3 things and you'd be amazed at the results. I see salespeople, even SDRs, just do the posting and the engagement piece, and they build these great personal brands in the matter of weeks, maybe just a couple of months. Down to the ABCs, for anyone who doesn't know, and it's I think as the years go on, this film is getting lost a bit in history. But Glengarry Glen Ross is one of the most famous sales films of all time, and reflects maybe a slightly negative part of sales that doesn't really exist now. But one of my favorite and everyone's favorite bit is the ABC: always be closing on the chalkboard. Put that coffee down. Anyway, we live in a slightly different area, and in social selling, there are a lot of C's that kind of come into it. So a few of the most important ones are the ABCs of social selling include always be consistent. Consistency is one of the biggest traps that people fail on. They might get excited, try, posting and being active for a few days, but then within a couple of weeks, that's it. They've given up and they're not active anymore. Now, again, to take away some of the fear of that, this doesn't mean you have to commit to being on LinkedIn every single day for the rest of your lives. There are great platforms that you can auto schedule. So things like Hootsuite and Buffer, you can schedule content in advance Always be consistent. The second ABC that certainly close to my heart is always be creating content. Such a powerful tool and a scary one. So my background's traditional sales. I was brought up in the world of selling, knocking on doors and making cold calls. Creating content is not my background. I have no formal education, no experience. Never worked in marketing. I'm a salesperson. So I know how hard it is when you go to someone who's never created content before and say, right, you need to start creating content. It's like, I don't know what to do. I know how hard it is, but practice makes perfect. And a lot of salespeople make great content creators. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but there's this huge rise at the moment in SDRs creating amazing content on LinkedIn and building these huge personal brands. A few of my favorites. I mean, you've got Sarah Brazier, who works at Gong in the US. She's built this amazing personal brand. She shares these amazing little stories. She's an SDR. You know, one of the biggest fears that SDRs will say to me is, we haven't been in sales for long. I haven't been in sales long. What can I write about? I don't have lots of experience. I'm not an expert. So how can I build a personal brand? That's not important. People just want to follow your journey. They just want to see what you're learning. They want to see what you're experiencing, what's working for you, what's not working for you. Everyone has a valuable personal brand to give, but always be creating content is definitely one of the most important ones. So I think those two are great ones. The rest you'll find in the book.
That's it. Great spells as ever.
Right, so that's the end of part 1, but fear not, there will be a part 2, and that does not involve me doing a number 2, in case that's what you were wondering. Anyway, subscribe now to the SaaS Marriage YouTube channel, and like, share, comment, engage with the content like we've heard on this episode, and on part 2, Daniel himself is going to pick a lucky few to send you an autographed book and some social selling swag.